Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Hi, everybody. This is Gary Wilson. Welcome to this week's Real Estate Investing for Professional Men and Women. The podcast for you, typically professional, almost always professional and or business owner. And the way we invest is, we use creative purchasing techniques. We try to get you on a cash basis as fast as possible. Still get creative, but it's you get better deals when you come in with cash. Grab the asset. Later on, you can leverage the asset to do further things. Just an example: leverage your business to grab some real estate, and vice versa. All kinds of neat things. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so. It's on 30 some odd channels: Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, being downloaded in more than 30 countries right now. And if you want to be part of the community, it's easy. Just go to myinvestmentservices.com and click on the members area. Some of you already are in there already. If you're not, just click on the right side and you can see how you can participate and get a lot of good free information and network with people. We do deals together. We get money. It's just you're doing this with a group of people who are just like us, just like you. So welcome aboard for the new listeners too. Now, without further ado, had a couple of great guests here, Adam Southey and Justin Sliva, and they're going to talk about their experience with real estate investing and how they've helped other people too. We just had a great conversation about a teacher, so maybe we'll use that as a case study. But without further ado, hey guys, welcome aboard, man. I appreciate you taking your precious time. I know you're busy, and I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with all the followers here.
Hey, thanks for having us, Gary.
Yeah, Gary, thank you. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. If you wouldn't mind, paint a picture for us. Give us a little bit of a background. Because that kind of gives us context, and then we start talking about examples and stuff. People, I think, will resonate more. If you wouldn't mind, just how you got started, maybe some unique story of what drew you in and how you met each other, that kind of thing,
Yeah. So this is Adam. I'll go ahead and get started because I know at some point along the story, Justin's going to lie to you. He does it every time. We've done a couple hundred of these now, and he's lied every single time. So if nothing, he's consistent. But so I'll get started. I've been in real estate for about 15 years now, off and on. I got started right out of college as a investor or new home investor, and then straight into working for a new home builder, building custom houses. And I've done everything since then: realtor, house flipper, landlord, wholesaler, mobile homes, you name it. And then back in 08, 09, when the economy slumped, I got stuck with a couple houses I couldn't get rid of, and I went broke. And Justin and I have been friends for over 20 years now, and at the time he was a manager on the railroad, and he knew what was going on. He said, man, I can get you a job as a conductor on the railroad. You're probably going to hate it, but at least it'll pay your bills and help you get back on. And so I jumped into it, went and rode the trains for about 4 years along the ways, thinking every day how I can get back into real estate. And I came across someone talking about land and how they were buying land for $100 an acre. And I couldn't believe it, but that was perfect because I had $100, so I could try it out. And I jumped out there and I bought, my very first deals were 3 2.5 acre parcels. I paid $250 a piece for each. And I sold all 3 of them for $1,000 each. And that was it. I was hooked. That was almost 4 years ago. And we've been growing and doing more and more deals every day. And then right after those first 3 deals, where Justin he saw what I was doing and he wanted to come in and dominate it.
Yeah, we had Justin Sliva. So what Adam fails to mention every time he does this is we like most people that do side hustles, they're always looking for a different niche, and we got into Amazon as well. And so we had a couple number one products together. I had a private label company for some other some supplement company as well. But watching my buddy buy real estate for cheap, he calls me, he goes, dude, I just got 5 acres for $500. And I was like, at that time I was a general manager at a smaller railroad, which would be like a chief operating officer. I was like, if you can find 5 acres for $500, I will buy every 5 acre you can buy and just live happily ever after. And he's like, well, dude, you should do it too. So he's like, we should liquidate our Amazon company and we should do real estate. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this. And he's like, well, I'm going to do it by myself, but you do it too. So that was, like I said, almost 4 years ago. And we have done collectively between the two, it's probably 500-ish deals in those 4 years. Last year I did 121 on my own. So when we say we're churning out these deals and buying this property, we have bought property for as little as $50 through the state, and we have bought property into the 6 figures and flipped it for profit. And that's kind of what we bring to the table. To say, hey, we've done this whole spectrum and we have been able to do it as a professional and do it full time as a sole business owner. So it's been a cool thing for us.
That's awesome. What's interesting is one of my nieces, her husband was a train conductor for a while out in not West Virginia, but western part of Virginia.
Oh, nice.
And just loved it, man. So I was like, what a great job.
Yeah, it looks good from outside. It's a tough life.
I don't know, it's a fair assessment, and it's a hard lifestyle because you're on call, you work 24 hours a day on call, you can't ever plan anything with your family. But I will say that it provided for me as a conductor, as that's what I hired out as, went to engineer, went through a fast track management program with a Fortune 100 company, and it provided me so much experience in learning how to do processes and stuff. It's helped me in today's world as a business owner, and that's what a lot of people that are professionals forget, is that a lot of these companies are giving you on-the-job training and teaching you how to run your own business. You just have to learn how to apply it with a different product. Whether you're a computer programmer, you meet with people and you treat that, you transfer that knowledge over.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Justin. It's so true. And I love doing these podcasts because I always get these little golden nuggets just like that. So anybody listening, if you're still in a W-2 job, just have heart, man. Don't beat yourself up. I was in banking for 18 years. Used to just feel like I was dying every day. And I finally realized, wait a second. I've got this great learning opportunity. They're paying me to learn. And that's exactly what I did, Justin. I applied it to when I started building my own businesses, and all those management skills I developed paid off the dividends. I couldn't put much emphasis on that. So in any case, so back to you guys, though. This is not about me, it's about you. You mentioned land, getting, pennies on the dollar and things like that. So give us, what is it that you do? What's your sort of bail of wicks? I mean, you might do some properties, improved properties also, and that's certainly part of it if you can talk about it, but kind of give us your niche, if you will,
Yeah, so we buy and sell land, which we purchase through direct mail. We typically try and purchase it for about 30% of value. And it kind of varies what you do. You see, I find a lot of people when they get started, they're looking at the kind of the deals that I did when I first got started, which are the $100 per acre deals that you're selling for $300 or $400 an acre. You can sell them for cash, but then you can also owner finance them. So you buy 5 acres for $500, you take a $500 down payment, and you get $100 a month for the next 3 to 5 years. And that's where people kind of start. And we did too. I mean, that's exactly where we start. But along the way, you find it's just as easy to do the big deals as it is the small deals. So we started scaling up into what we call the bass boat property. And you want to jump in?
Yeah, the bass boat property, it's a neat phenomenon. It's not to a point that you're risking the farm on it. It's a bass boat property is that property that costs about as much as a bass boat, a Harley Davidson, and a RV. So it's that thing that gives that guy back at the office that dream of, hey, I went to my 20 acres in the mountains this weekend, man. It was beautiful up there. And his buddy's like, oh man, this guy's got 20 acres, and it's a $20,000 to $30,000 property, and we're offering 30 cents on the dollar for it. So we're getting it for $7,000 to $10,000. If you can sell one of those a year, you're making 6 figures a year, and you're really not breaking a sweat. It's
a month.
Oh, one a month. I'm sorry. Yeah, one a month. You're making 6 figures a year. And the cool thing is that it's not out of line to ask for 20 or 30% down. So you're getting that $7,000 to $10,000 back down as a down payment, and you're cash flowing at 10% interest with some doc fees and things like that, where your passive income comes up as well. So you have multiple exit strategies, and you're selling something that somebody really wants, and you're getting it for undervalue. And that's anything you want to do with internet marketing or selling a product, is being able to find a product for undervalue and try to realize as much of the market value as you can.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I love the subject, because a lot of people have limiting beliefs about land. Like they're told, you have to have improved land with a building on it so it has value, things like that. But the fact is everything has value. It doesn't matter if I know people that flip cars. They flip classic cars. That's what they do. You can do this with anything. So I like the idea that what you're doing is a sort of, you got a hybrid approach. You're acquiring the asset, and then when you resell it, you're allowing people to pay on a plan, which gives you immediate capital plus residual. And one of my uncles actually did that. He's in Texas. He's like over 80 years old now, and he does that with houses. Over the years, he bought a lot of houses. He rented them out, just good old fashioned bread and butter houses. And then he got in the 70s. He's like, I don't want to actually just dump these things and sell them. It's those huge capital gains. So he decided to do owner financing on the sales, got an immediate, bump in cash, $5,000 or $10,000, had cash flow coming in every single month from the mortgages. And in Texas, it's a very owner favorable state. So if somebody defaulted, if he gave him a chance that didn't pan out, he would just take over the house and resell it. And it's like, it's not like New York or California. You actually have ownership rights in Texas. You can actually, get your property back, Yeah. So in any case, I love the philosophy because I've been fascinated by that. And I've thought about, I'm 57. What am I going to do, when I'm in my 70s, which is another, 13 years down the road here. And, so I like what you're doing here. So give me, so in the beginning, it sounded like you started off with the really easier to grasp properties, lower dollar figures. But what's maybe one of the largest ones you did? Like, and how did you, like, what was your mindset? Did you build up to it gradually over time, or did it just lay in your lap and you, even though you might not have been ready psychologically, you did it? Or give me a story about maybe the biggest one or one of the bigger ones you did,
Well, see, Gary, that's a great question. And one of the fun things for us with our podcast is our journey while we're best friends. Our land companies are totally separate. Our podcast is together, our educational course is together, and our content is together. But the fun thing is it's different for both of us. Our whys and what happened and how we do it. And Adam hones in on his niche. And as to where my niche was a little bit different is I had a bunch of the smaller properties. I lost my job. I got a call. I got that Friday morning call that we all dread. We had just started this land company. It was 3 months old. We had 21 properties in inventory, and I had to sell them all quick. And so that's where the bass boat property kind of started. But we went from the $100, $115 an acre purchase price, selling it for $300, $400, sold 21 of them in like 45 days, made $70,000, and said, okay, this is going to work. But we've got to, my why is now motivation is I got to get as many deals that's going to make money as I possibly can because I got to support a family. I've got 3 kids and a wife. Wife doesn't work. And so that whole light the fire under your butt kind of thing that we had to do it, and it said, okay, how high can we push this and what kind of margins can we get? Right now, the biggest property I have is a section. It's 640 acres in Nevada. Nice. I've got a couple on the market that are 200 plus acre ranches in anywhere from Tennessee to Virginia. Since we've started this, I think combined, we've done 39 states combined. Last year I did 21 different states. So we're able to do this across the country from our house, and we're not going to the properties to look at them. We're able to do it via using a drone service to go out and video it for us. We can look back. We have a time machine in Google Earth, and we can go back and look over the last 20 years what the property's done. So we know if it's been timbered, if the access has been maintained there, things like that. So we're able to do that. So when you ask what's the normal like property type and how did we scale up, our first couple deals we bought with what we call the coffee money real estate investment method. We have I'm going to plug our little $7 book that we have. It's coffeemoney.rei.com. It teaches you how to buy property for $50. That's what you spend at Starbucks in a month, right? So for $50, you buy a property, turn around and sell it on eBay for $500. And everybody loves 10X, I'm a big investor. But, as a teacher, and we can talk about this in the case study a little later, but as a teacher or a professional, you only have limited amount of time that you're not at work. Go to the state, you buy it for $50, then you automate it and you schedule your auctions on eBay. So in one day, you can buy your properties for next month, get them listed for next month, the ones you've already had come back, and set up this little machine that works on Sundays, and you're generating $300 to $400 extra a week or every deal, and it really pans out. But right now, we focus on the bass boat property, and I'll let Adam touch base on it a little bit more. But yeah, that's what we focus on now.
Yeah, so a typical deal for us would be buy for 10, sell for 30. But one of the great things about this niche is that it doesn't have to be what you focus on, right? Because we work at a county level, and there's so many different types of land and exit strategies that you can literally work in the same county as other investors and never come across them, because we may be shopping for 40-acre parcels that are covered in trees, and you may be looking for 20-acre agriculture land, or you may just be you may like the smaller niche. You may want to shop 2-acre subdivisions or quarter-acre subdivisions at different price levels, and sorry about that. Whereas we may be focusing for cash. You may be one to owner finance.
Yep. So it's not so generic that you have to follow this one way. There's plenty of exit opportunities and options for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what. So a couple questions here. I'm loving this subject. Now, when you're purchasing, are you purchasing on credit or cash, or is it different? Every deal is different, or what's your acquisition?
So that's what helps us on the exit strategy. And I'm going to work backwards from that, because have you ever tried to go get a loan from a bank on raw land? They typically don't do it. So we pay for cash with all of our stuff. And that was one of the things that we learned right off the bat was everybody talks about, hey, there's private money, and we didn't find it. And so after about doing this about a year and a half, I started a company called Plum Investment Group. And it's one of the few companies in the country that actually private funds or JVs deals like that. So we go in and we put up the money for a deal that has the merits. We base it solely off the merits of the deal. We give you 6 months to sell it in a JV agreement. If you don't sell it, we take it back. And we go ahead and dispose of it with our regular marketing methods. So, so our way is cash. We have been creative and brought in private money, but we put that in place. So it was something we could offer to the people that learned how to do this and help them scale faster.
Yeah, and I agree. That's what's funny, guys, is we're so much alike because I learned when I get on a cash basis, I'm like, man, life's a whole lot easier now. You can call the shots, you get the best deals, and you can then be the banker. And yet a lot of we call them the late night gurus, they're always preaching all that no money down stuff. And I found out the only reason they're preaching that is because people tell them, I don't have any money. Like, oh, great, you don't have to have cash or banking. So,
yeah.
But the reality is the really good and the most successful investors, and I've been blessed to be able to meet some really affluent people like Robert Kiyosaki, got to have dinner with him. Rich DeVos, I've had lunch with him and dinner with him. He's the founder of Amway. Lee Iacocca used to be a big investor when he was still around. And all of them operate on a cash basis. They didn't start off that way, but they got that way. They still leverage. It's like we still get creative. We get creative with the financing. We just do it after we control the asset. So I love what you're doing, man, because this allows like the teacher, people who aren't making in, multiple six-figure incomes, allow them access to this game of investing. So if you wouldn't mind, I've got literally like 3 or 4 questions backed up in my brain. But the first one is, I want to talk about you. If you, like you mentioned before, you work with a teacher. I want to use her as a case study. But before I do, you mentioned you've operated in 39 different states. So I want people to recognize that, I live part-time in Canada and part-time in the States, and different rules, but very similar. There's a lot more land in Canada, but in the U.S., I think there's more opportunity. So talk about geography, like California versus Arkansas or New York. Every place is different. I've been in every state, over 600 cities and towns, and I've come to realize, there's opportunity everywhere if you just simply do the research and look for it. So maybe even dispel it and say, guys, doesn't matter where you are, there's always opportunities. But if maybe talk about the geography a little bit, like location-wise, how's it impacted your strategy or your business, Yeah,
I guess I can touch on it.
Either you or me.
Yeah, we'll go back and forth. So you did say, it doesn't matter where you are, there's opportunity everywhere, right? Because the first deals I ever bought, they were literally in the desert. I thought, who the heck is ever going to want these? It's 2.5 acre parcels with the most attractive thing about them is as tumbleweeds rolling around, right?
Yeah.
But there's still buyers for them. I sold them quickly, right? And it's had to do a lot with the pricing. They're $1,000, but then you've got buyers for all of that. And so there's preppers, there's people who collect land, there's truckers who just want to own that stuff. But you find that kind of land as you go out west of part of the United States, and that's where a lot of people get started. But what we look for now are just like the really pretty attributes, like something you want to talk about. Does it have mountains? Is there a lake near? Is it heavily wooded? Can you hunt there? Is there good access?
Yeah, he's hitting the nail on the head. And Adam's my data guy. Like for me, he's my data person. But when it comes to this, I have become so systematic, and that's what my background is processes. And so when you take the process of how do I replicate something that worked in one area and go geographically and scale it everywhere?
Yeah.
So we use the Bass Boat property. We say, hey, $1,000 an acre market value. Well, if I told you in the United States right now, there's 275 counties with properties listed for $1,000 an acre market value. And so that means there's a market there, right? So there's 275 counties. If I offered all of them a third, I know that for every 1,000 offers I send out, I'm going to buy one and close. It's going to have great access. It's going to look good, and I'm going to be happy on it. Well, now at 275 counties, that's about 10% of the counties in the country, 8% of the counties in the country. But you can scale that and move that market if you want market value at 2,000. You just adjust it, and you look at it like a spreadsheet or a number, a data set, and you say, okay, hey, $1,000 an acre, I'm going to offer $300 an acre. If it's $1,500 an acre, I'm going to offer $500 an acre. Now you've opened that window of your net, and then you say, we do a secondary check and say, is it within 2 to 3 hours of a major metro area? And that could be something like Charlotte, North Carolina, or Raleigh, Durham, or is it Nashville, Tennessee, or is it Memphis, Tennessee? Is it Oklahoma City, Dallas, Fort Worth? What does that area look like? And then you start laying them over each other on Google Earth. All this stuff is free to look at. You're just putting a little twist on it, and you say, okay, hey, now I've got the right price point. I've got it near this place that I want to be. Let's send them some offers and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I love the approach. By the way, you mentioned Vaca Valley. I actually just taught a class there back in May. So I was going from San Francisco, the Bay Area, up to a little town called Anderson. You ever hear of Anderson, California? It's going up 5 between Sacramento up towards
You'd have to
Redding,
tell me county. We're county guys. We don't live in towns too often.
So it was a cool area. I love the area, man. But in any case, so I appreciate you sharing that. Now, so I think now people realize if you're not from California, you hear all these crazy stories. Yes, some of it's true, but the fact is it's a giant state with lots of opportunities. It's not just all about LA and San Francisco. Go out into what we call the Central Valley, Bakersfield, up in Fresno, Modesto, all of that. Awesome places, opportunities. And even in the East Coast where it's more populated, I mean, heck, I can go up to Massachusetts and there's a town every 10, 15 minutes away, but in between there's all kinds of land. So if you wouldn't mind, I think we got everybody's attention. Would you mind sharing a little bit about the teacher you were telling me about earlier? Because I think that's an awesome story and it shows people, you know what? My gosh, even a regular teacher can do this stuff. So if you have anything you can share, as long as it's not it's proper to share.
No, by all means, yeah. So we have a podcast. It's called Casual Fridays. REI. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And on our 10th episode, we gave away the opportunity for $500 or a free piece of land. And we told them if you took a free piece of land, we'll help you sell it if you don't want to keep it. And a teacher won it locally to us, and it was. We had a pretty decent listening voice, but our sound was real bad at that time, and we got it dialed in. It's beautiful now. But she's like, hey, I want the $500. And I said, okay, cool. And then she calls me. She goes, wait a second. If I take the land, what could I do with it? I said, well, you're going to sell it for probably close to $500, but then you can take that money and buy 8 more pieces of property. And so what she did, she goes, the $500. And so she took it and bought 8 pieces of property with it. She sold those and put together the money to put a mailer together, one of our direct mail campaigns that we do. She did that, and then she bought 2 properties in Oregon. Mind you, she went to Oregon one time on a anniversary trip, bought 2 20-acre properties up there, beautiful properties. Think she ended up buying them for, I'm going off memory here, so both of them she was all in at $9,000 that my private funding company funded for her. So she has no money out of pocket other than her mailer costs, which she made off the money the free piece of land we gave her. Yeah. And then she sold that and ended up selling them for combined, I think it was $18,000 or $19,000. So, I mean, that was at the end of it, after she paid out everything and sold all the things, she made like 2 months' salary. And she had very little work in it. She posted a few Facebook ads. So it was one of those things. It was like, well, if we can get her to do this, why couldn't, more people do it? And that's what we try to teach is that if you can systemize your day, you're going to have to put in some work. It's not just put your hand out here and get paid. But you have to, if you can find some time each day to go through your leads that come in, list your properties, and if you don't go with a realtor and you answer the questions for sell by owner, you can be disciplined in that. And that's what she did. And after the fact, she goes, man, that was pretty cool, but really not my cup of tea. And there's nothing wrong with that when you try a new niche. And she moved on, but had a little extra cash in her pocket.
Yeah. Well, that's an awesome story. So what I'll do is I want to take it a step further. Let's do like a what if scenario. So by the way, teachers are one of the groups of the followers that listening to my podcast. So I think you may get some emails or calls from some teachers coming up here. Yeah. But, let's take another industry like like somebody that's not that teachers aren't busy. Believe me, teachers are busy. But somebody like a dentist that owns their own practice. And they're working like dogs, man. They just they gotta serve the clients, do the teeth. Then they got to run the business, and they just don't have a lot of time. But this may strike an interest in them. But what would you suggest to them, or what would be the steps they would follow? And maybe there's a way for them to do this without having to do a lot of the work. Maybe somebody can do that. I'm just trying to throw this out there for a scenario. What is scenario?
Yeah. So that's the great thing about land, right? Because you get this idea when you're a real estate investor, because most people think of houses. There's a lot of time involved that you got to be out there swinging a hammer, that you're going to have contractors to deal with and all this other stuff, right? We don't do that with land. We do all of our stuff by direct mail. And so the hardest part is picking and pricing a county. And that's what we focus a lot of our teaching on. And so when you get someone who's super busy, we'd recommend they take like an hour or so and pick that county, price that county. And that's really it. That's the most of your work, because then we do direct offers, right? We actually will take a county. We'll send every single person in that county an offer. And it says, we're going to pay this much for your land. If you want to sell it, sign here, send it back, or you can call us. You can have someone else answer your phone for extremely cheap. We use Pat Live. It's like $140 a month. They'll take all your phone calls. That comes back. You get a yes. You look it up. You see if it's good. If you want to buy it, you send it to a title company. So a title company closes it for you. You hand it over to a realtor. Realtor sells it for you. It goes back to a title company to close it, and then they send you the check. And that's it. I mean, you can do this job, make full-time income by very minimal hours. I mean, it's very hands-off, because you're not going to the land and cleaning it up. You're not knocking down trees. You're not mowing. You're not doing any of that.
Well, the thing too I like about it is you're essentially flipping, and more you can do like owner financing again. But there's no building, there's no tenants. There's none of that kind of stuff that creates a lot of other legal steps to go through in case you got to step in and take the property over. It's just there's no evictions. It's just easier. You don't have maintenance, upkeep. All those headaches just go away. I'm sure there's other things involved, but man, I've had a lot of rentals over the years, and let me tell you, you'd be surprised at what the human being is capable of in a rental unit. So, hey, what I want to do now, is if it could, talk a little bit about timing. So right now, we believe we're at or near the peak of a market. It could keep going for another 5 or 10 years. Nobody knows, because if we did, we'd all be gajillionaires. But we know the market's going to go up, the market's going to go down. So what have you noticed since you've been doing this, strategy-wise, or related to timing, if we're going up the market or down the market, or how's that, like, does that change your strategy, or how do you react to that,
Yeah, and that's a great question. We hear it a lot, and we usually hear it from the multifamily and the single family resident investor. Like, well, what are you going to do if the crash comes? And the cool thing about what we do is when we send a direct mail campaign out, we're pricing it in the current market state. So if the market's starting to dip and it's starting to fall down, remember, these are flips. My last 50 deals were in and out, money wired in, money wired out in 100 days. So, I mean, that's kind of tell you the window. Now, for a piece of land to go worth we're just going to use a 10 and 30. So if it's worth 30 and I offer 10, for it to drop to only worth 10 grand in 100 days, a nuclear bomb is going to have to go off around it.
Yeah.
So that's not we're current market. We're offering way undervalue. And since we're so undervalued, when we go to sell it, we're just trying to realize as much of the market value as we can. So, for instance, at 10 and 30, if I put it on the market day one, a guy calls me and goes, hey, I'll give you $21,000 for that. I'll take it, right? Say, yeah, I just made over 100% ROI in less than, the time it took me to close and earnest and get it listed. So I'm a week into it at this point, more than likely, and I made 100% return on investment. You do that all day, every day. And that's where this niche is different, because I'm not on the juice with somebody. I'm not, fighting a hard money lender. I'm not having to hope that I bought it at a 70% rule and get my 1% rental or 1.5% rent rate. Whatever those things are going to come into, we're going in to we're buying a widget, and we're buying it for pennies on the dollar and trying to return it and get as much as we can of that and maximize that.
Yeah.
And you can always adjust your pricing to when it comes to owner financing, because if the market's hot and we're trying to get $5,000 down payments, so if it slows down, we can lower that. We do $2,500, $1,000, $500, and adjust the payments to whatever you need to do to make it work. I don't know you see it all the time with land investors. They always say it doesn't matter what it is, what the land looks like. You offer it for $99 down, $99 a month, it's going to sell very quickly.
Right. Yeah. Hey, well, let me ask you this: Have you ever bought land, or even if your intention was to resell it for profit, have you ever bought land for the purpose of keeping it, or after you bought it, you realized maybe we should hang on this because some new industry just announced they were moving into town, or something positive, like when Amazon decided they were going to build some other locations? Of course, everybody's sort of speculating. But does any ever come into play, or is it strictly turn it over, keep turning it over to replenish the capital and build their foundation?
Your key word there was speculating. Everybody's speculating that Amazon's going to buy this from Google. I have a property right now that we bought 100 acres from her, and they had another piece in an area that Google owns and has bought the properties right next to it. She wants $3,500 an acre. Google owns next to it. That's her selling point to me. I'm speculating that Google's going to grow there and want it if I buy that. Speculation that we try to minimize our risk. That's why we offer so little. We try to maximize the velocity so we can turn that money. If we're making 100% or 200% return on investment, we continue to churn that, and just that your ROI at the end of the year is just astronomical. Or you turn it into more passive deals, and you tie up that profit into some cash flow type properties where you're doing owner finance on it. So I've done speculation and try to build brands and things like that. So for me, I'm very risk adverse, and Adam could correct me if he wants, but I don't think he will, that we try to take any risk and speculation out of it and stick to the hard facts. If it's worth 30 and I buy it for 10, I'm going to sell it for more than 10 and get my money and keep running and keep turning that over. And that's kind of the mentality that I have, and I think he probably shares that sentiment.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I would 100% agree. Now, if you're asking, are there properties we come across that we want to keep because they're beautiful? That changes the story. That changes everything. Yeah. But even again, I bought 20 acres in southeast Oregon on the lake.
Nice.
So there's a mountain behind me, 20 acres, and then a lake. And when this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, I paid $3,500 for it.
Yeah,
I'm keeping this one. And then 2 weeks went by, and I was like, I'm never going to Oregon. Why would I even contemplate this? This thing's going back for sale. I know Justin's had that happen too. I mean, but in the end, we always try and sell everything.
Yeah, I got my one property like that's in the middle of the Ouachita National Forest in Oklahoma. It's 4 hours from our house. But when I see my kids and they want to eat, and the price is right, I think I bought it for $7,500. It sold for $28,000 the second day after homework. It's hard to pass up, $20,000 after closing costs and everything. So that's
I agree. Yeah, but by the way, it's actually just in Oklahoma the first week of September, teaching there in Tulsa and Norman, which is just south of Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. But earlier in the year, I was back up in Oregon for the second time. I love Oregon, man. There's the Clackamas River flows through it. There's Mount Hood. There's called Bend, Oregon. Mm-hmm.
That's exactly where we were talking about that we had property there.
Oh, no kidding. So, oh man, I wish I'd have known that. I would take that because that's build a little cabin, Airbnb it out so it covers your costs are covered, and In any case, that's my daydream, something like that.
And that's exactly what we sell. What you just described to us, right? That's exactly what we sell, and that's why we call it the Bass Boat Property, because you have so many guys that sit their job or they're teaching, they're traveling. Like, man, if I could just be on that bass boat right now, jerking lips, and so they go to Bass Pro Shop. They spend $35,000, or they spend $195 a month for the next 10 years on that boat. We provide that piece of land just like that.
That is awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, we're kind of getting close here. If you could do me a favor, I love what you're doing, and the fact that you're doing the podcast together, which is interesting, even though you have different companies. That's the world's having you guys do this is a wonderful thing for the world. But if you could share with me your big why, or a nugget, a word of wisdom for people listening who just want to break in to making money in real estate, half-heart, take this first step. And by the way, don't be shy. If there's something you have to offer people, a free report, a free book, a website they can go visit and grab information and what have you, please share that, because I think you're going to get some interest. And this is one of my favorite ones,
Awesome. So. Well, I'm going to start it off, and I often get kind of frowned upon because I don't want to get hung in the cliche of the why. But first, you asked two things. CoffeeMoneyREI.com will get you a $7.99 book we have for your listeners there. It's on special. You can buy it on Amazon for $10 if you want, but your listeners get it cheaper if they would just go to CoffeeMoneyREI.com. CasualFridaysREI.com is our podcast website. We're 170 something episodes in now. We've been doing this for a little over a year and a half, or close to a year and a half. The live event that's probably going to air after the live events happen, but those are the ways you can get a hold of us. We tell people, listen to the podcast, listen to what we have to offer. If you like it, schedule a call. We'll talk to you about what we can do to train you on it. We have a course out there. It's 40 plus videos, 6+ hours on how to do this. We call it the Land Flipping Blueprint. It walks you from A to Z. So that's the pitch. That's nothing secret there. But the why, or the big thing that I can tell anybody to get started in real estate, and this is going to be super important, and I don't want to sound like a coach or a why or whatever, but the idea is just to get started. And when you get started, whatever it is, you're going to find that you're going to continue to grow and get better. You're going to take that step forward, and you're going to continue to keep on trying new things. It's just that first time to get started. And that's why we put Coffee Money REI out to the masses, because if you can figure out how to buy a piece of property for $50, that's low barrier entry. That's cost of dinner for you and your family if you go out one night. And if you messed up, it only cost you $50, worst case scenario. But if you hit it right and you made 500, so you do that 5 times, now you've covered your month's salary. And we have a speech pathologist who came to our live event last year. She did the coffee money. She bought like 15 or 20 properties, got moved from full-time to part-time, and that covered her bills, the difference in her pay as a speech pathologist by doing this. And her and her daughter did it together. Now her kid learns about how to make money work for her. So, for me, it's getting started and try to make an impact around you. Teach our kids or the generational people that you can put money to work for you, and it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of mirror what Justin said. I know most people, they want to get started in real estate investing. I talk to a lot of people that come through and want to learn about what we're doing, and the problem is always that money, right? Everybody wants to be a real estate investor, but you might not have a ton of money in your pocket. When you're looking at buying an apartment or you're looking at buying a house or something, you got to come up with a lot of money, right? With land, you can literally get started with $50 to $100. That's how I did it. Like I said earlier, $250 for the first one. I don't know anybody who can't come up with $150, $100, $200 over a week or month or 2 months, whatever it is. That's extremely low risk, and then you scale up, or you just scale up enough to do a direct mail campaign, and then we put our money where our mouth is. We help you out. So there's really no excuse not to get started in a niche like this. Yeah, and I think that's one of the fun things. You talked about the late night gurus. Oh, no money, no nothing. For me, I always question a person that won't put their money where their mouth is. If I'm an investor and I go talk to another investor and he's like, man, it's a great deal, and he doesn't want a part of it, I don't think it's a great deal. If it's a great deal, I want to be a part of it. And that's why Plum has been successful. And that's why Casual Fridays continues to grow, because we say, hey, this is the type of properties we buy, bring them to us, we'll fund them, and we'll keep running with it.
Yeah. I like it. So true. The funny thing is sometimes the most profound truths in life are the simplest things. Why does somebody want to sell, or why do they not want to participate? I mean, let's just look for the story. Let's read between the lines. And, when I read financial statements on properties, I wouldn't like this 30 years ago. It took a while to do this, but, you learn to see the story behind the numbers, which is really important. Everybody, there's lots of good people in the world. Everybody's capable of being mischievous, but having the data and the facts, doing the research first, like having your drones fly over, all that's genius. You don't have to fly all over the place. You just have the drone do it. But it allows you to gather information. You're using county records. I mean, that's just smart business operating. So in any case, I appreciate you sharing this, guys. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say thank you for being on the podcast. I know you're busy. Your time is valuable. We certainly appreciate it. And for everybody listening, please take Adam and Justin up on their offer there, because I think you're going to get some valuable information. And I know I'm interested myself personally. So there's my endorsement on this one. And if you want to be a member of this group of the real estate investing professional men and women, this is what we do. It's not all about me trying to get you to buy a 10 unit apartment. We open the doors to other creative alternatives, because we want you to grow and develop. So go to myinvestorservices.com, be part of the community, network, associate, be part of this. So in the meantime, we'll see you all next week. And also, God bless you and your families. And again, Justin and Adam, thank you too. And God bless your families. And hang on just 1 second here.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.